chosen for this programme a scene featuring Tower Bridge, probably one of the most iconic London scenes. So I've traced down the drawing, I've masked off a few of the most important highlights, and I'm now going to mix some washes for the sky. I'm using a number 16 brush, plenty of clean water, and I'm starting with some Naples yellow and light red to give me a glow in the lower part of the sky. Plenty of water in that. I don't want anything with Naples yellow, can look a bit cloudy as it's an opaque colour if you make it too thick. So there's plenty of water in it. Then I'm going to take some cobalt blue and I'm adding to that a little touch of rose madder. Not much, just to warm it slightly. And the final colour is cobalt blue again, and this time I'm adding light red to it. And that creates a nice grey. Now I'm taking a 1-inch flat brush and I'm going to wet the whole of the sky area, working from the top downwards with horizontal strokes. When I get to the towers, I need to take a bit more care, but not too much because I have got masking fluid on, so I can paint quite freely around them, right to the water's edge, which has also got a line of masking fluid. Got to pick up the sky in the gap there as well. Now, still with that 1-inch flat brush, I'm now picking up the mixture of Naples yellow and light red and working that across the lower part, putting it into the gap between the two towers and bringing it down behind the bridge and into the gap underneath the bridge where you can see where the water meets the land. Touch more at the right hand side there. Now I'm just washing that brush and picking up the cobalt blue with a hint of rose madder and bringing that in from the left. It's nice if you let that mix with the light red and Naples yellow because it creates a nice new grey on the paper. Just bringing it in streaks across the previously wet paper. And then to get that slightly darker look to the top of it, I'm picking up the grey and working a bit of that in. Being careful not to put so much grey in that I obliterate all my earlier work. It's a case really of just getting some streaks across to add to what I did previously. And as the brush gets low on paint, the marks I make get smaller towards the horizon. And that just needs some time to dry now. So now that the sky's dried, I've got a couple of small flat brushes, a 3mm and a 6mm, and I'm going to use these to start to describe the skyscrapers, office blocks and all the various buildings in the horizon behind the bridge. I'm using the same 3 colours that I used in the sky, starting with the mixture of cobalt blue and rose madder, and I've got a 6mm flat brush, and we'll just start at the left hand side putting these shapes in. I'm introducing some of the Naples yellow and light red to it as well as I come down behind the bridge there. I'm alternating with the colours as I work along, adding a touch of the grey as well. I'm going to put a bit more light red into that grey. I can work a few shapes up from the bottom of the bridge. It's important to get some variety, so now and again I weaken the colour a little bit by adding a touch of water. It's about getting these corners to look squared off as well and realistic. Some more of that light grey. lot of the Naples yellow and light red. Add a touch more blue to vary it. So long as you stick to those colours, you can do quite a number of variations on that theme. I'm taking the 3mm brush. There's a tower here that is a little bit narrower, so I'm going to put that in with the 3mm. Okay, then carrying on. Just using this same method right the way through. I'm not observing every building in its exact shape and size. Don't want to over detail it. Go to the slightly bigger brush, the 6mm one, and a bit more grey. Working quite rapidly because I want these colours to soften into each other while the background's still damp. I'm going to take a bit of tissue and dampen that colour away at the right hand side where it's a bit too strong, and then that will need some drying time. The next stage is to put just enough detail into these background buildings to make them look three-dimensional without over detailing them and bringing them too far forward. For this I need the 3mm flat brush and a number 4 and number 2 round, and I'm still working with the same grey mixtures that I used at the last stage. So with the 3mm brush we'll start to make some of the buildings have a shadow side. Just creating a few variations. Still using this fairly weak grey mixture. You can see how using the flat brush speeds it up. To mix a touch more of the grey, cobalt blue and light red. It's the same across at the right hand side. Softening that in a little, they're a little bit strong, so I'm using a touch of water to soften them, especially down below when it gets towards the water's edge. A few little details along here, a few lines. Now I'm picking up a number 2 brush, a very fine point to this brush, so I can be quite accurate where I put the marks. More of that grey, more cobalt blue and light red. And I'll pick out 1 or 2 little details like a few chimneys, that sort of thing. The odd little mast. And little marks to suggest smaller detail nearer to the edge of the water in the distance. Again, I don't need to be specific because it's a long way away. It's just a suggestion. And then just before I put a few final suggestions of details in, I do need those shadow colours to dry. So now with a number 2 brush and more of the same grey mixture, put some lines in to just give us that hint of rows of windows. little shapes to break up the tops of the buildings. Working from left to right, right the way across. And then some little windows on this one here. Okay, and we'll leave that to dry.